Alrighty, so to not waste any more time, I'm going to hand it over to Sophia to show you guys some of the links that you're going to need before we even begin. Please bookmark this and have this handy. So Sophia, please go ahead.
All right, so like Jessica mentioned, I have a couple links that are great resources for you guys as you do your productions and go through it. So I just want to give you those as we're starting. You're going to need them throughout the training as well. The first one I'm going to give you is the link to our student production handbook. So this handbook website is going to have all the information that you, I think that's actually our OnTap one, but we're going to give you all the information you need to know here on our handbook website. I'm going to send it again. That's the homepage for it. So go ahead and bookmark that homepage. That's something that you want to keep handy. If you ever have a question, you're more than welcome to come to SPO or Tyler Coe, who's also on this call. He works at our Playa Vista campus. If you're a grad student, you could pop into the office there. But if you are home and you're wondering and you have a question, go ahead and go to our handbook website. There's a search bar on the right side of the screen that's really handy, and you can type in any keyword there. And if you're curious about something like a camera lottery or permit, type it in, the page for it should pop up. So that's really helpful. Another link I'm going to drop in the chat is the one to our safety badges. So as you might know, through Brightspace, you complete different safety badges that we require for you to go out and do your production. If that is not something that you have completed already, I'd highly recommend you look at that page at some point in the next few days and make sure you complete your badges before you go out for production. The ones that are for sure required of you are your general safety and your COVID safety badges. Those are for productions. You also want to make sure that your health and safety supervisors have done their COVID safety badges and really looked at the information there for your sets. So those are really handy to have. If you ever want an AD, there's an AD badge. There's LNG and truck badges as well. So those are good for you to have. Next is a link to our workflow dashboard. So today, as we're going through our OnTap system, I'm just giving you a quick way to get there. Again, if you ever lose this link, you can go back through our website and type in workflow or OnTap, and you'll be able to find it again. But this dashboard is an easy one to bookmark and use for when you're submitting the OnTap projects that we're going to be talking about today. And then the very last one I'm going to put in is our SPO forms page. So on our handbook, we have a forms portion of the page where if you're looking for forms to get started on your pre-production, or you need templates for Movie Magic, or there's something you need for a crew list, it's all going to be on that page. So go ahead and use that one as you need it as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sophia. So definitely bookmark these pages that she's sending to you because you will need it. If you don't think you'll need it today, you'll need it next week. So have that handy for you. Also too, so we're gonna get into the main training where I'm gonna have Chris share his screen. But before we do, I'm gonna have you guys just make sure that you need, let's see, sorry here. So we're gonna make sure that you have your CRN number handy. This is what you need in order to begin your OnTap production request. You're not able to generate or basically start the request without that. So we'll also show you how to get that information. You're also going to need to know a description of your on-camera beats. So basically, we're not looking for your whole entire story and your story plot, just the basic beats like guy hands girl flowers, people sit down to eat. Obviously, keep in mind COVID restrictions, but that's just like the basic description of actions. Also, what you'll need in order to submit is the names of all your cast and crew. Please note for the introductory level, they all have to be LMU students. This does change when you get into intermediate and advanced, where you're able to have actors that aren't LMU students, but they go through more vigorous COVID and safety guidelines. The last thing you also need is time. So basically you should be submitting this no later than 8 days before your desired film date. So make sure you just have enough time. Sometimes there's situations where a location might not be available and you don't want to kind of shoot yourself in the foot. So be sure to have that handy. So now we're going to get into the introductory projects. So those of you who are in like 379, any 200s, I see that we have 379 here. So pay extra attention to that. And then Sebastian and Sophia will take you through the intermediate and advanced. So Chris, if I can, I'm going to have you share your screen and go to the introductory. So as you can see, this is your dashboard. So it shows, if you can kind of get out of that real quick. So basically, this is just your dashboard. You have your VAX LMUs here. You have other parts or forms from the university, but SFTV uses this as project management. So over here, you're going to need to go to the SFTV audition and rehearsal production request. You're going to hit start workflow in order to begin. So from there, it's going to generate some information. Because you logged in through your My LMU, at the very top, it does have your student number, your email, and your first name and last name. All you'll just have to do is input your phone number, which Chris, please input a random number so you're not putting your phone number on blast. And your class level automatically generates. So he's a sophomore. And the next part, it's going to ask for your current residence. So that's just where you live. That's 123 Main Street for him, which is a fake address. But you can put, if you're living on campus, it could be 1 LMU Drive, or if you're living off campus, whatever area you live in. Now it's going to ask you, did you complete your COVID safety and community badge? So that's the link that Sophia sent you earlier. So you need to make sure that you've completed that. Go ahead and hit yes. If not, make sure to do so. Now, here's where you're going to need to know your CRN number. So if you don't have that handy, Chris is going to show you right now how to access that on Prowl through going through your My LMU. So Chris, if you don't mind taking over to just narrate to them how you'd get there.
Yeah, so you basically are going to start My LMU, just go to your Prowl, log in if you have to, and then student services, basically like you're going to register, but instead of going to register, then you're just going to click on, if it'll ever load, view registration information. And if that'll ever load, then we'll go to my fall or spring 2022, and this will be for my production 330 class, and the CRN is right there. So I'm just going to copy that and paste it over, and then when I tab, it'll autofill everything in a second, maybe. Okay, there we go.
Perfect. So that's how you get your CRN number. And like he mentioned, definitely be patient. The system's not broken. It just takes a second to kind of just get everything together. So it's going to ask what type of project are you requesting. For this, you'll be requesting a production. So go ahead and click that. Now it's going to autofill on the bottom the fields that you'll need to enter. So we'll have you enter a project title. So be it a 379, he's in a 330, he's just going to put my project. Now you're going to put a description of your action. So again, these are just the beats, the main beats that you will be filming. So he's saying guy hands, girl flowers, a romance story. She shouts at him. Okay, so a drama. He cries and runs away. Okay, so those are his story. And if you're aware of where you think you'll be filming, it's okay to put that here. So he's going to be filming on the bluff. So that's just helpful so that whoever is your main coordinator from the PAT team, be it myself for the intro or Jenny, Deb, or Laura, they can already have an idea of where you will be filming and give you just additional guidance or context. Now, are you filming in Los Angeles County? Of course, he's filming in LMU, so that'll be yes. Start date and end date. So he'll just put his desired start and end dates. Please keep in mind, if you're an intro level course, you really should only be filming 1 to 3 days per each project. So if you're in Prod 200, or you get 1 to 3 days. If it's Prod 379, most of those could be shot in 1 day because it's just a directing. So keep that in mind. So filming days, that's 2 days on the stage is 0. For intro level courses, you don't have access to film on the sound stage. So please keep that in mind. For the capture format, there's a drop down where he selected other and he's filming on his iPhone, but there are other stuff like XF100, C300, DSLR 16 millimeter, or you can add whatever camera that you have. So next is where we need you to input your cast and crew list. So you'll just put the positions that they are in. So definitely the director, because that's your project. You are the director. If you do have anybody filming for you, a DP, you'll add that in. If you have any actors, you'll add that in. One note I will make is, please, for the email, please put your lion.lmu.edu email. That's just a quick way for us on the PAT team to just see like, oh, okay, yes, this is an LMU student, and we won't have to put a red flag on your project. So go ahead and adjust that if you are able to. Perfect. And then any notes that you have on the end, but for now you won't need notes. So he's not going to do it here, but go ahead and enter anybody that you know is going to work on that on your project. Go ahead and enter them in. If you don't know or you don't have all your crew yet, that's fine. You can always come back and edit that. So the next question is, are you filming a DIY at home project? That will be no, since he's filming on the bluff. In our permit training, we will go over DIY at home projects. Just as a quick insight, for DIY at home, you do not need a permit if you're filming in your off-campus home with those you live with. However, if you're filming on campus, say your dorm or your apartment, you will need a on-campus permit request, and we'll go through that in the next training. So do you live on campus? That'll be yes, he does, but he put a different address at the top. So usually make sure that it's like your 1 LMU drive, but for our purposes, it's gonna be no, just to be consistent, but definitely put where you live. So the next part is just giving you information on how to access that form. So Chris, if you can click on the student filming approval form for housing. So if you're filming in your on-campus apartment, that's the form that you would need to fill out and have housing signed before you upload and submit this OnTap request. So that's great. Please navigate back. So will you be filming off campus? That's no. For intro level, most likely you're filming on campus. Maybe for your last project, you might want to venture out. That's okay. Just let us know. Will you be renting any equipment? For this project, no. However, you are able to rent equipment. You'll just need to access a certificate of insurance. And I believe if Sophia, if you have that link, please drop that in the chat. So basically, in order to rent stuff off campus, be it props, be it equipment, it's quite expensive and you would have to cover a lot of insurance. But because you're an LMU student, we provide that insurance for you. So if you want to go to Sony Prop House or rent an additional equipment for your project that you feel like we don't have access to, or maybe you didn't get a chance to get your hands on that because another production got it, just go ahead and put that in, fill out the certificate of insurance form, and we'll get you going. So that's the same for the next part. Will you be renting any props off campus? Again, no, but again, you'd use the certificate of insurance. Now, will you be using any non-LMU SCAS or crew? It's always going to be no. For intro level, you can only use LMU students. Will you be filming any minors? For this project, it's no. However, if you're filming DIY at home and you live with your family, say your younger sister or brother, and they're going to act in your film, that's okay, but that's only for DIY at home. Once you get to the higher level courses where you're able to film minors that are non-DIY at home, you will have to get a studio teacher, and there's a lot of other steps that are involved with that. Next, will you be using any prop weapons or guns, clubs, or knives? For this is no. However, if you do click yes, I just want people to see how it's going to automate which prop you'll be using. So whether it's a prop, club, knife, or other, you'll just put what you need. And then you will have to also upload a picture of the actual prop weapon and make sure that we see it and approve it, just so that there's no accidents on set. We just have to approve that. So you're able to use it, but we need to make sure that it's good. So no. Will you be filming near water? So for his, no, even though his character will be crying, that doesn't count. If filming in or near water, just keep in mind that depending on the parameters of what you will be filming, you may need to hire a lifeguard, especially if you're filming on the beach. So that's a whole nother level. For a Prod 200 or 379 or 330, most likely you won't be filming on the beach. But in the event that you're really pushing, like you want to establish your vision, just know that you would have to get a lifeguard on set, and that film LA may require you to do a lot more than just selecting yes or no from here. The next part is, will you be using motor vehicles in your film? So here would be no, but again, I'm going to have him click yes, just so you can see what is populated. So will the car be moving? No. So for the intro level phase, we don't want the car moving at all, just because it's a safety hazard. Most likely you're filming on campus, and that just brings a lot more surveillance that I know Laura and Deb want to mitigate at this level of filming. Will cast and crew be in the car? Yes, most likely, and that's okay. And will the camera be in the car? Yes. So you can film with your car, but we just don't want the car moving, just because if you're filming maybe in a parking lot and people are walking, that's a higher level of safety that we let progress over time, and with the right kind of structures to make sure that there's people around to kind of surveil that and make sure that everything's going well. So he's going to go ahead and click no. He just wanted you to see how that looks. Will you be using any smog or fog in your film? So for this, no, because he's filming outside. You're not able to use a fog machine or a smoke machine on campus. You can use that off campus. But I believe, again, for the most part, a lot of students don't use this unless it's like a party scene or something like that, which we're not doing because of COVID. So just have that in mind. Is your project being shot during class time? Most likely no. If you're filming this, the reason why that question is there is that there are other class level exercises where they do film during class. Will there be any stunts in your film? We're gonna put no here for intro level, but if you do have yes, that'll be for, I just wanted them to see what it says. Okay, so we didn't add anything there. So for intro level, no stunts are allowed. That's one of the rules that Laura and Deb implemented, at least for this semester. For stunts and film, you need to make sure you have a stunt coordinator, which is okay if you're in your 390 or your 490 or any graduate level course, but for like Prod 200, 379, you're gonna have to find a way to kind of tell your story in a way that cheats that. So maybe you wanted to have like a fight scene. Maybe instead of having a fight scene, you have somebody pretend to punch a pillow and it cuts to like red. Like you can do a lot of things creatively with editing, but at this point, you're not able to do stunts. Lastly, will you be using an animal in your film? This includes your own pets. Here we'll say no. Please visit the area in the production handbook. You can type that filming with animals in the search bar if you need, just so you can know the parameters. The only exception to this for intro level is if you're filming a DIY at home and it's your own pet and there's no like animal like abuse or anything crazy. Just keep it sweet. That's your pet. I'm sure you want to make sure that it's okay. So just keep that in mind. However, again, as you get into intermediate and advanced levels, you will be able to, but then Laura, Deb, or Jenny will just have a different checklist to make sure you're following all the adequate rules. So next we'll have Chris sign his signature and the date's already there, and then he'll hit submit. So make sure you're hitting that submit button instead of save. Save does not submit it to us. So then we're not able to get your project in. So if you're like, oh, I did it all and I hit save, well, we don't get that. It's stuck in pending, and the 5 to 8 day lead time still applies to that. So make sure you're hitting submit. And how you know you hit submit is if you see this lovely page. So it's going to let you know, like, thank you for submitting your production. You're also going to get an email notification with your SFTV production number, which you will need. So thank you, Chris. So boom, you have that right there. And that's his production number. So he will have that. And you can always click to view the request in the email. And that'll take you straight to your production page, or at least it should have. So for some reason, it didn't take him straight to the page, but he already knows that his production number is SFTV-0784. So as he does that, he's going to click on the 3 dots that are to the left, click edit request. And when you click edit request, that's the way to get back into your project. So you can see what you've submitted. You can see the level that it's at. So you can see, like, for him, his project goes to me. So you can see if I've collaborated with him at all or anything like that. So what I will do is I'm going to quickly just at him in the collaboration phase, send him a message real quick, have him refresh the page, just so that you guys can kind of see how that's supposed to look like. So as I get that ready, please let me know in the chat if you have any questions. I'll wait a few seconds for that. Alrighty, so give me a second. Sometimes OnTap, that's the one thing about the system. Sometimes it's slow, as you may know. Let me see. Okay, perfect. So edit request. Alrighty, so thank you guys for giving me the second to do that. So Chris, if you can just refresh your page, you can do Command R or something like that. So as you'll see, I popped up. If you see the name like Inyenena, that's me, that's my legal name, although I go by Jessica. So most likely we will acknowledge that, yes, we received your production. If everything looks good, there's no additional questions. We'll just say, please begin your permit, which he will be permitting for the bluff, and make sure that you respond to me. So you can do @ and if it's easier, you can do @ like my email, jessica.akpan, or you can just use the perfect. So you can hit enter. And then that's how you communicate with me. And he can say, got it, will do. So that's how you collaborate with us. A lot of people, so Chris, if you can go back to your email. So as you can see, he got a notification that because I @ him, he got an email notification. So that's a good way to keep up with it. The one thing that you cannot do, you can't hit reply to that email, because if you do hit reply to the email, it's not going to go to us. It's going to go to ThinkSmart, which is like a no reply. So make sure to keep that in mind. Always click here to review request. So if you see that below my comment to you, it says click here to view request, click on that, and that will take you into the project. Or else you can also just go and navigate from the dashboard into this project through edit request as we showed. So that basically covers everything for the intro level. I know that Sophia and Sebastian will build upon that and show you how to better navigate that page. But this is just like for the intro courses, and I will hand it over to Sebastian.
Hello, party people. I hope you all are having an immaculate Friday. So I'm going to be going over the workflow for your 390, 392, and then 490, 492. So all your immediate / advanced like little productions. And so if you have any questions, just drop it into the chat and I'll be more than happy to answer them during my presentation. So without further ado, let's go over to Google Chrome. So if you're completely starting from scratch and you don't know where to go, first thing you're going to do is you're going to go over to the SFTV production handbook. You're going to go down to departments. You're going to go to production administration, and then you're going to click on project approval. And then on this page, it's going to have your intermediate / advanced workflows. And so if we go over and look at that workflow, it's going to give you all the steps you need in order to succeed. So let's look over these documents that you're going to need before you go for the workflow. First, you're going to need your filmmaker agreement. That's this little document right here, which basically states that in a really, really long and convoluted way that you're not going to burn the school down. And you're also going to be a good person. So once you have all that, you read everything, you agree, you're going to go put in your signature, you're going to put in your date, and then you'll be good to go. Going back to the workflow, you also are going to need your preliminary budget and your preliminary schedule. And I know what you're thinking, Sebastian, what is a budget and what is a schedule? Well, those are two things that we have in the student production office on our computers. It is the software called Movie Magic Scheduling and Movie Magic Budgeting. You're going to have to learn how to use that software in order to get your budget and your schedule ready for your film. Luckily, we are offering trainings on how to use this software. Our trainings are going to be January 28th from 9 a.m. to 10:15 for the preliminary schedule, and from 10:30 to 11:45 for the budget. And those are both going to be in ComArts 205, which is if you go up the stairs to like the sound floor, it's going to be a room like to the back of you when you come up the stairs. And if you can't make it to those meetings, we're also more than happy to meet with you in the office to go over that software. And we can always hit you up with a Zoom call too. Or if you email us with any specific questions or Instagram DM us, we will always respond to you there. And so once you have that preliminary budget and schedule going, then you also need your script with your numbered scenes and properly formatted cover page. So when we mean our numbered scenes, that means that for every single thing that has interior, dining hall, or interior, like my room, that has to be numbered. So we have to make sure that not only is numbered, but it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. And then your cover page that goes along with that is basically a regular script like cover page, but it also has your professor's signature, which states that they know what your story is, they know all the moving pieces, and so that they are in the know about all these different things. And then last but not least, you have to have your cast and crew list. We have a new updated cast and crew list for the semester, and I'm going to be going over that more in depth towards the later part of my presentation. So now that we have that going, let's go to the workflow. So we're going to go here to OnTap dashboard. Going to wait for it to load. Has to go through all of its cybersecurity stuff. And then once it loads, we're going to be going to the same sort of form that Jessica was showing you, which is the SFTV audition rehearsal and film production request form. We're going to hit start workflow. It's going to do this little cool gathering information at the speed of light thing. And this should autofill. And then I'm going to put in my fake phone number. And then it's going to autofill with my class level. I'm going to put in my fake address. Do not look at my actual address on there in the autocomplete. And then we're going to go to the completed. Did you complete the updated COVID safety and community agreement badge? Yes, I did. And then I'm going to put in my course number, which is 75114. I'm going to press tab, and then this should autocomplete. There we go. And then what type of project are we requesting? We're doing a production project. Currently at this time, due to COVID, we're not doing rehearsal / audition like requests on campus, just because we're like kind of really closed down right now. So you don't need to worry about the rehearsal audition stuff. That's mostly going to be on Zoom. So we're going to hit production. And now look at this. We have our intermediate / advanced things to answer. So first, you got to fill in your script title. And let's just say for this, it's going to be Phil and Carl help an old lady. And let's just say my producer on this is going to be my good old pal, Christopher Potluck. Look at him. He's a man of many talents. He's doing his own film and he's also producing mine. And then my first AD, let's see. Oh, what about my other pal, Sophia Costanzo? Oh, look at that. But remember that if you have an AD, they have to do their AD badge, which is specifically required for ADs. So Sophia, make sure you do your AD badge. All right, now going to budgeting and scheduling, you have to put in your proposed budget amount. So for this film, I'm going to be spending $500. It's a very low budget indie film. And then I'm going to attach my completed budget and schedule. That's your Movie Magic scheduling and Movie Magic budgeting forms. And then how many cast and crew will be used in the production? The max is 15. And since I'd like to use the maximum everything, I'm going to use 15. And that's both cast and crew, okay? So you can't have 15 crew and then be like, all right, I'm going to have like 10 cast members because it's a whole ensemble film. Can't do that. All right, and then we're going to go find our new crew list form. So instead of like clicking on that and it taking you to Excel form, I took the liberty of just like putting it into a PDF just to show to you guys. So this is what that form looks like. You're going to have your cast right here. You're going to have your director, producer, health and safety supervisor, and all of your different little crew positions right here. And if you scroll to the right, it's going to have a lot of different requirements for the people who are going to be on your crew. Now, let me show you my example. So in the film, Phil and Carl help an old lady, we're going to have our cast right here. So as you can see, I'm playing Phil. And since I'm an LMU student, I'm going to put that, yes, I am an LMU student. I am, in fact, an undergrad. And then for the shoot days or the days worked, let's just say we're filming this weekend or right now, I'm going to be putting the 14th through the 16th. And then since I'm an LMU student, I have to put in my LMU email. So I can't put in my fake email. And then I have to put in my phone number too. So since I am actually going to LMU, I do not have to put my up-to-date vax proof. Thank goodness. And then, oh, look at that, our new testing requirements. Let me go over that. So because of the semester and like the uptick in cases for Omicron, SFTV Production Administration is kind of taking a better approach to making sure that we're all safe on set. And so part of that is the 2 testing system. So if we're going to look at the cast members, no matter if they're LU or not LMU, they have to get tested twice. The first time has to be PCR test, and that is 72 to 48 hours before your first shoot date. So if my first shoot date is today as an actor, the maximum I can get tested before the shooting date will be the 11th of January. And then you're supposed to also have a second test. That can be PCR tests if it's 48 to 24 hours before your shoot, or it can be antigen tested 24 hours before your shoot. So let's say that I'm also going to get PCR test again. I would do that the next day, so 48 hours before I shoot on January 12th. And so let's look at these other people's information. So let's say that you have a non-LMU cast. That's going to look a little differently when you film this stuff. So obviously Joe Pesci is not an LMU student, which they were, but they're not. We're going to put them as no, they're NA, they're working all 3 days. There's his email and then his phone number. So you are going to have to provide proof of their vaccination. I have no idea if Joe Pesci is vaccinated. So that's something I'm going to have to find out. And then he's also going to have to get tested same time as me. And he's also going to have to get a second test at the same time. And then we're also going to have to submit campus access for him. Since he's not an LMU student, we have to make sure that he's able to get on campus. So that's also paperwork that you have to fill out. And then last but not least, we have someone who is a crew, and it's Martin Scorsese's. Now, quick note, for production administration, we have a lot of people who have their real names and then like American names that they like to use. So if you have someone who goes by the American name, make sure to list that American name in there. So for Martin Scorsese specifically, since I know that he likes to go by Marty, I'm going to put down Marty. And so he's not an LMU student, not an undergrad. He's working all 3 days and yada, yada, yada. Have to provide his up-to-date vax proof and all that jazz. And then one more thing that I want to cover is that if you have an LMU student who's on your crew, you have to make sure that they have certain badges filled. So you have to make sure that they have their COVID safety badge filled. You have to make sure that they know how to conduct general safety on set. And then for all of these intermediate advanced sets, which is us, we also have to make sure that we have our LNG safety badge, our truck loading badge. And then if you're an AD, you have to have your first AD badge. And then also you can put here for your notes if someone's working virtually or if they're only working a few like days. So let's just say like, I have to go like to a red carpet premiere, like at the end of my first shooting day. So I have to leave early. That would be something you just like put in there. All righty. Now let's see. Did I miss anything? No. Going back to the workflow, you're going to put that all in there. You're going to upload your cast and crew list. So I'm pretty sure I have to upload something, but let's just upload what I already did. There you go. All right, and then shoot dates, I'm going to go from the 14th to the 16th. And how many shoot days I'm going to be doing? 3. So for intermediate advanced productions, we're only allowed to do 3. For extenuating circumstances for all different productions, you may hear of like some 550s going for like 4 days or something like that. But usually for us, unless for extenuating circumstances, we're capped at 3. And then proposed filming cities. So if you're going to go somewhere else to film, you have to put that down in there. And you have to remember the 30-mile rule too. So if you're going anywhere and filming anywhere that's outside the 30-mile radius from Los Angeles, specifically LMU, you have to provide both housing and food for all of your cast and crew for the entirety that they are traveling to, staying at, and coming back from that location. Also, if you are filming in the LA area or just any metropolitan area, make sure that you show specifically where you're staying. Because if I'm saying I'm filming LA and someone's asking, well, are you filming in like downtown LA or are you filming in Venice Beach? Those are 2 very different areas. So we want to make sure that we know specifically where you're staying at. So I'm going to put Venice Beach. It's a very interesting film, let me tell you. And so for camera, you have the choice to shoot with your own, or you have the choice to shoot with our SFTV cameras. And remember that if you're shooting with SFTV cameras, to submit your camera order at the maximum 2 weeks before you're shooting. So let's put SFTV. And then also we did the filmmaker agreed and all that stuff. And then last but not least, we have to sign it. So I'm going to put in my name. And then I'm going to hit submit. Make sure you hit submit and not save once again. And then once you get all that stuff done, let's go back to the flow chart. You're going to book a meeting with Laura, Deb, and Jenny, and then they're going to ask you a bunch of questions. You're going to answer them, and then you'll be on your way. So you may be wondering, what's next? Well, I don't know. So Sophia's going to take it away.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. Also, just to let you guys know, once you do hit that submit button, it is similar to what you saw with intro, where you're going to get a follow-up email and there's going to be a link once you hit submit that does say book a meeting. So it'll be there. I also dropped it in the chat. It's also on that workflow, so you can find it in a bunch of places in case you lose it. Just to talk through a few more things once you submit, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So I just want to talk about the workflow dashboard. So once you submit, if for some reason you need to come back here or you need to find your production number, this little menu at the top with the 4 lines, if you click on that, it'll always take you back to your workflow dashboard. And as you can see here, workflow is being used to collect a lot of different materials right now. So you can see different things I've submitted. I just want to teach you guys kind of what that looks like so you can easily find things. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. Once you've submitted your production, it's going to come in as SFTV and there's going to be 4 numbers after it. So if you looked at my dashboard, it has all my projects that I worked on from last semester or submitted. So all of those are the SFTV and then followed by 4 numbers. Those are the productions. Again, kind of like Jessica mentioned earlier, if you did need to update something, these 3 dots are here so you can click edit request, but at the intermediate and advanced levels, I'm actually going to show you what we're going to do to follow up. You won't need to use this as much. So it is there, but again, it's not something you're going to need as much. I'll now show you why in a moment. So we have our productions are with the SFTV, and in case you're trying to differentiate that with your permits, when you submit permit requests through the system, that's going to pop up as PRMT. So just so you are aware, there's different sort of codes on here for the different things that you're submitting. The other thing you can do is you can sort your dashboard if you're trying to find something in particular, you want to sort by the date created, or that's easier for you. You can click on those tabs. You can expand your columns. Again, for intermediate and advanced, you're not going to be working in this as much, but you have some options there on the dashboard. If you have more specific questions about that, let us know. But this is kind of a quick overview of how you might need to navigate it. The other thing that you're going to have is once you go through the process of submitting and you go ahead and you book that meeting with Laura, Deb, or Jenny, and then you have the meeting, you're going to have a box folder. So once you've submitted your workflow, that goes through to risk management, but you're not going to be really working in there as much. So if you did a project last semester, a lot of the updates were going through the OnTap system. Now we're asking that you submit through Box any updates that you might have. So this way, it's a lot more collaborative with Laura, Deb, and Jenny and our production office that we can really follow up and help you with the materials that you'll be submitting. So if we go ahead and look at this, I'm just going to sort it by name for a second. If we look at this box folder is being shared with you once you complete that meeting. And you're going to see a couple of different things that you're going to turn in throughout the process. So this is an example box folder. So here, the first tab is your call sheets. Let me expand this so you can see the full names too. And then your health sign-in production report. So those are those crew sign-in sheets. Those are required for every production. And again, can be found on our SPO forums page. And that's a sign-in sheet that you will do collaborating with your HSS, just making sure everyone's done what they need to do to be on set. So as you have your call sheets and your health sign-in production reports, you'd upload them to this box. Deal memos from your crew, those forms again are available on our forums page, and those deal memos can be uploaded here. So you want to make sure you get these in before you actually go out for production. So if you look at that workflow Sebastian was talking about at the very beginning, the process really starts about 3 weeks out that you want to start submitting to OnTap and get those meetings done. But then before your film, you're still turning in these things. And again, he mentioned it's all preliminary. So if you have updates, you have edits, this is where you're going. So deal memos are going here. We're going to give you some signage in these on-set kits for printing on set. So signage in terms of reminding people to stay distance and COVID reminders. You also do get a COVID kit when you go out to shoot. So make sure you're utilizing that. Sometimes with our films, we might have different requirements. So if you're working with a minor, if you have prop weapons in your film, based on your meeting, you might be asked to upload those like photos of the prop weapons or different things into a folder. So that's what this other required documents folder is for here. If you're doing your film and you need to permit a location, which typically you would at this level, you either would be going through Film LA or through on-campus permits. If you're doing Film LA, we would be requiring you to submit a draft, a receipt saying that you paid for your permit, and the final permit. So as you receive your permits, you're going to submit them to this folder, or if you did get an exemption, you'd submit it here. Releases for your locations and actors would go in this folder. And again, all of the release forms are available on our website under forms. Test results as you're going through, we need to see the actual result that a person receives. It's not enough to update it on your crew tracking sheet. So make sure that you actually put a test result for each person in. And then we have, if you have any updates to your schedules and budgets. So again, you might have turned in a preliminary one through OnTap, but make sure if you update it, it goes into this folder. Something I'd recommend too is dating it as you go so you don't confuse different versions, or find a way to easily keep track of it. Vaccine proof. So again, for non-LMU participants, we do require proof of vaccination. So you're going to want to send in a photo of that vaccine card to this folder. And then you might receive, or you're all going to receive a project checklist. I'm going to look at that one in a second. And then there's a project notes box note where when you're in that meeting, whoever you're meeting with might add some notes there of things to follow up on or things that are specific to your film. So this folder really has a lot of general things that everybody's going to need, but then you also might be asked for some specifics based on your individual project. And then you can see here that we've uploaded the cast and crew form. So again, you're going to want to download it from the SPO forms page, but you want to upload it here as well. So this box has the example of if you've uploaded it, And then let's go ahead and look at this checklist. So everybody's going to receive a project checklist. And again, it's all tailored to you. So when you're in this meeting, Laura, Deb, or Jenny is going to be customizing this form with what you need. You can look at it and see here, it's really just asking for some general information about your shoot. It's looking at badges, reminders of equipment, and it goes through different things. Don't stress, I know it might look like a lot, but it's really just depending on your project of what you need. So this again is going to be in there as well, and they'll mark whatever you need to submit. So in this case, like the proof of vaccines or your test results. So again, that will all be available to you so you can really easily keep track of what you still have to submit before your film. And that's essentially what's going to happen for going through there. So if anyone has any questions on that, let me know as well.
And feel free to just like unmute your mic if you have to ask a question or pop it in the chat. I know you received a lot of information, but again, we gave links to the workflow. So if you scroll up, there's links to the intro workflow and the links to the intermediate and advanced workflow, which you can also search for in the production handbook. Elijah, I see that you have a question.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because one of my concerns, since I'm doing like a 390, one of my concerns is just like not wasting people's time by having them be on set longer than they need to. So like, for instance, I only have two scenes where there's like dialogue present. And so optimally, I would shoot those scenes, you know, like first on Friday with the sound mixer and boom op, and then hopefully, and this is where my question comes in, where if I only need them for those two scenes, I don't want to have them be there the whole day and do nothing else and waste their time. So I'm assuming there is some type of like location or something that I can specify, like, oh, they're only going to be here for the first 4 hours or for half of the first shooting day type of thing. Because yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I don't want to waste people's times at the end of the day.
Yeah, and Sophia, Jenny, or Sebastian, feel free to chime in if anything's different, but I'm pretty sure you can always just wrap them early. It's not required that they stay the whole entire time, because anyways, we're just checking to make sure everybody has like their vaccinations and their safety. Whether you wrap, but that's good, as long as you don't go past like the 12-hour, you're free to do whatever. If you want to specify that on your like your shot list or something like that, or your call sheet, you're free to do that, but you're free to wrap them at any time.
Yeah, I would just add on that crew list that you're giving us, that you're turning in, there is a spot for notes. So you could say on the notes, only a half day. And on that crew sheet, it also asks you what day the people are coming. So like Jessica was saying, we're less concerned with they only stayed an hour. And on those sign-in sheets you use as well, you could write, you know, clocked in at 9 and they left by 1. We're just concerned with how many days are they showing up, or when do they start, because their start date is going to determine when they have to test. So just make sure you put an accurate start date. Then on the crew sheet, you can add a note that it's a half day, or on those health sign-in sheets, you could just make sure to put the right times for when they got there and left.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I would say if they're only working one day, which I think I've read a couple scripts where that's a really good plan. Just start, work, finish, SWF on your call sheet. And that's really helpful for us because we don't have to track their testing as much then, you know, so it's great.
Are there any other questions? And remember that a lot of these things, like any questions that might come up, most likely I'm 95% sure you will find most of them in the production handbook. So use that as your guide. That's your best friend. If you have like, oh, well, I need a police officer for this shoot, just already type in that, type in film LA. Oh, will Laura and Deb need this? Or are we allowed to have this? Make sure you just type that in the production handbook. It'll help you. Again, we're here as a resource. There's SPO, COM 103 with me, Laura, and Deb. So don't do anything where it's just like, I guess, and then you just do it, and then it's your production has to get shut down. Just always seek clarity. We're here to help you. We're on your side. And for most of you guys have done this, so it's just kind of just going over what you already know. The biggest difference for a lot of you will be that box folder. So make sure that you're looking at your emails. and really communicating with Laura and Deb and Jenny, and myself doesn't really count so much for this, but if they send you to me to get some help, just make sure you're keeping up with that communication and that you're putting everything in your box folder, because they will be checking that and you're not able to film unless everything is done. So that has become your new production checklist in some sort. So hopefully it's easier to navigate. I know a lot of you last semester who took the courses that you're in now had issues of, I uploaded it and it's not, I'm getting yelled at or somebody's saying that I didn't turn this in when you did. So this should kind of like mitigate those issues, as both you and either Deb, Laura, or Jenny can see that you have both turned it into your box folder. And then I don't know, Jenny, do you have anything else to add?
I just wanted to point out that Tyler Coe is here, and he's the GA in SPO. So the grad students, feel free. He'll be there quite a bit. If you need any help, he shot his 600. Was it last semester?
Yeah, I shot it last fall, last semester, and I can
Last
drop
fall.
my email in the chat too for y'all real quick.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so he's there to help, with movie magic or anything else that you might need if you're in the Playa Vista campus. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. So hopefully you guys are all excited. Please don't be discouraged by any of what COVID or Omicron is doing. You still will get your production shot. Everything will happen just as it's supposed to. And again, you have all of our emails, maybe more emails that you need, but we want to make sure that you're covered and set to go. So keep that excitement on this beautiful Friday. And I see that Ezra has a question.
So will all the forms that we need to fill out for this be on the SPO forms page?
Yes, it pretty much covers every single form that you need. And if in the event that there's anything extra, it'll definitely be in your production checklist, which is now in box. And then, thank you, Sophia. And then Elijah Mateus. Did I say your last name correctly?
Matthias.
Matthias.
Sorry.
Okay.
That's okay. So I was just looking at the handbooks for filming on campus with a prop weapon. So I'm in 390, so I'll be allowed to do that. I'm just looking at the budget for that. It says $22 per hour times 4. I'm just wondering what that times 4 is.
Usually, and Jenny, feel free to chime in. Usually there's a minimum. So even if you're like, oh, I'm only filming for 1 hour, there's like a 4-hour minimum to have that. I'm sure it's like a proctor or somebody there to make sure that everything is done well. So that's just to have you prepared to know that there's that 4-hour minimum. So it's $22 for those 4 hours. And if you extend it, it'll just continue to be $22. But the minimum.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, go ahead, Ezra.
Yeah, I asked this question in the chat earlier to Sebastian. What was the first thing we had to do before filling out before doing the SFTV-On-Tap and submitting all the different apps?
Yeah, so we can add that. I don't know if you guys can add in the chat, but basically it was just letting you know, like, you need your CRN number because you can't really go anywhere without the CRN number, making sure that you are submitting at least 8 days in advance. Also to making sure that you know your on camera, like, description of actions or beats, so that when you fill that out, and then making sure you have your cast and crew. Is that what you're asking?
No.
Okay.
Before all that, there was another form that he showed before.
Are you,
I think it was the
Ezra,
film-
are you referring to the flow chart that had sort of like the 6 things you need to know?
I think
No.
it was the filmmaker's agreement.
I think so.
I think the way the Sebastian had said, you're going to have to upload this. So just that was the first form he showed you, that you need to sign it, have it ready, because you are going to have to upload it when you're submitting.
Okay.
Oh,
I
are
think
you
that was
referring
it.
to like the budgets and like the agreements? Are you referring to that, what you need in order to submit?
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, Ezra, I'll drop that flow chart for intermediate and advanced. And again, it has the link to that agreement. That's on the forums page as well. And the flow chart I just dropped in really breaks it down. And here's like the 5 or 6 things, something like that you need to submit, including that filmmaker agreement. And that's updated for this semester.
I see the links part. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm happy you clarified that, so you can make sure you have everything you need before you submit. Are there any other questions? Alrighty, if anything else comes up, please save one of our emails and email us. The next thing that we have going for us is the permit training. So we may see some of you guys here for that. That will cover permitting on campus and then off campus, primarily through FilmLA. So thank you guys all for coming. We look forward to see the productions that you guys produce this semester.